Welcome, one and all to the Generation X Retro Gaming Club, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I hope you're all right. How is the chat doing? How are you all doing there? Let's just have a quick look. Dave, with not hello. Good evening, sir. Zero Games. Good evening, sir. Welcome. Hope the sound is all good. Dave says, I just watched the creator stream. That thing looks more appealing all the time. Basic only mode for me. Yeah. Think we'll see it next month. Ditto here. It does look impressive. It does look very interesting. But will require a bit of attention. Silence. No disturbance, please. Jay Key, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Welcome. If you don't know, I'm Clive Illenden. That's what it says down there. And this is...
I'm Rokk. That's what it says there as well. Look at that. Do you know, I think we're kind of the YouTube equivalent of an aging pair of Anton decks, aren't we?
Or more like that, the what were they called out of the Muppets?
Oh, yeah. What were they called? The old fellas.
Oh, they got like a hotel name or something.
It was like Hilton and somebody.
Yeah. Anyway, put it in the. You know, we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we're talking about. Put it down in the chat. Well, we've got hopefully in a pack, as the two Ronnies used to say, in a pack show tonight. We've got the news. We'll be just centering on some of the news of this week in gaming. On this day in gaming history, we'll be taking a look back at some event of this day, or this week at least. 64K of memories, a trip down gaming memory lane, as it were, and maybe some general chat as well. More Bert and Ernie, exactly. Very good, Desidini. I like that. Yeah, bird. Yeah, it's going more rainbow there. Zippy, bungle. I don't think that's quite right, Zippy. Do you? Anyway, we're not.
To that man.
You're welcome. Well, I think you're fine. Anyway.
It gets better. I'll get my coat.
Yeah. Anyway, enough bonkers. Come on. First of all, Mr. Rokk, what have you been playing this week, please? Inform us all.
Yeah, so I've been like always, I've been playing a little bit of a lot, but mainly Assassin's Creed and the Turing Test, which I finished today.
Finished it? I haven't finished it.
Yeah, really good fun. I'm not sure how long it took. I reckon about 7 or 8 hours. Something.
Wow.
It's not a huge
not
game.
massive then, because I thought it would take longer. But
I mean, I think it's going to depend on whether you like puzzles and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And for me, I found that I could jump in and do 1 or 2 rooms, and then that was enough. I'd move on and do something else and come back again. So, yeah, really a really nicely crafted game though, and lovely that it was free.
Yeah.
And a bit of zombie killing as well, which I know you've been doing. You've been very busy over the last few days.
I have indeed. So I've been playing a lot of Zombie Army 4. As I've said that before, I'm loving that game. The sort of sub levels within the chapters are quite short, so once you get over them, you can have a rest, and and then come back to it later. But the main thing, as many people know, is I did like basically 21 hours over the weekend of PUBG, all for charity, as they say. I'm raising a lot of money for charity, and we raised 150. I think it's gone up slightly, but it was just over 150 pounds. So very chuffed with that. That was the target, and we did, after 19 hours, we did get a chicken dinner. Although just before I came on, I joined up with Yoshida, and she was at the end of a game, and she got another chicken dinner. She was in a squad of young Portuguese boys, apparently. And they got, and then I played, and I killed about 7 people, and it came again, choked it, 2 against 1 in the end, just me against 2 guys, and I threw a grenade at them, and they shot me, and then the grenade blew up.
Oh, so you died before the grenade went off?
Yes,
Oh no! And they died from the grenade.
I think so. Well, the game ended because I was dead, so they didn't
Oh
die. If you know what I
no!
mean. But
That is evil.
as I died, I then heard bang, and it was like basically landed on top of them. Anyway,
Wow! Wow! Clutch.
I want that. I want that. I want that finish. I want the finish. I want the winning goal. That's what I'm trying to strive for. I
You
may
want
have a
your
chicken
poulet.
dinner. I might have a chicken dinner, but I want the winning goal, the winning strike. And it was in my grasp. That was the closest I felt it should have been my game.
Well,
But
I'm really proud of my PUBG work because I got 1 kill
that's
in a
great,
game.
yeah. What I learned about as well is because when you have a throwable, you know, throw it underarm or overarm.
Right.
And so I was in that clutch situation there, and I thought, damn, got to throw a grenade. So I got my grenade out. It turned out a smoke grenade. I got it out and I threw it. I thought, I aimed it up and I threw it, thinking I'm going to go like that.
Yeah.
And I just went through it. And I thought, what? Oh my God! It's another thing just to remember: is your arm on overarm or underarm? You can switch it round.
So what effect did the underarm have versus the overarm?
Well, it only went halfway. So, but I threw 2 smoke grenades and then realised, I've got to, in the moment of panic, I've got to switch now to overarm. And that's when I threw the grenade and I threw it correctly, hit the right place, but I was shot just like, as the thing going off. Anyway, a lot of fun. It's very addictive, PUBG. And for some reason, like I just popped in and I was like killing machine just that last game, just for some reason. I've never, I think it's the highest kill rate I've had.
Wow.
I said
that's all this practice you're putting
Well, I
in.
said to Yashin, I'm sure they're all bots, because she said, no, they're not. And I said, well,
Portuguese bots.
Anyway, enough of that. That's what I've been doing anyway. Chat, let us know what you've been playing. Yeah, your chicken might be out of date before your dinner's ready. Exactly. I put it in the freezer. It's in the freezer.
It's gonna have a zombie chicken.
I've got the chicken dinner. I want the. I want, as I say, I want the clutch. I want the final shot. That's what I want to do. Anyway, chat, let us know what you've been playing. It doesn't have to be on Stadia. If you've been playing on any other stuff, stuff like that. Let's get on with the news, shall we? Why not? Here's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, in the news this week, I'm going to copy that. So. Xbox have provided a list. So as we know, there was a big Xbox presentation, and seamlessly I should be able to do this now. There was a big Xbox presentation, and Xbox has been very much about the next generation of games. Now, traditionally, when a new console's coming about, it's all about the new games for that console. The games are going to show off that console. So the new Halo game. And the idea that traditionally it would be exclusive to that console. You could only play this game specifically on this console. And Xbox seemed to be taking a slightly different approach. And Project xCloud fits into this in terms of they just want people to be able to play their games on any of their ecosystem. So that's why they're really concentrating on having things being backward compatible. Now, that's not only so that you already have an instant library of games. You don't have to reinvest in a whole load of new games. But the other thing that they're doing is guaranteeing if you buy a game that has this sort of logo on it, find it here, there's a sort of a certain logo that basically means that if you then later get an Xbox Series X, you can then upgrade free of cost. So it's saying about smart delivery. I think this is it here. So that's it. These 11 new games will get free upgrades for the Xbox Series X. So the idea is if you buy it, you can play it on the Xbox One or whatever and get the Xbox Series X version free of charge. So it's sort of taking that backward compatibility even further. So, for instance, if you buy Cyberpunk for the Xbox, say you've got an Xbox or an Xbox One X, and you buy Cyberpunk, it'll have the special Xbox mark, which means that should you then go and get an Xbox Series X, you've got a free copy of the what's oh God, brain's gone dead
The
now.
next gen version.
Of the next gen version of that game, yeah, which is an interesting idea, but flies in the face of having those exclusive next gen titles. But at the same time, it does seem to be the way that Xbox is going, which saying you can play our games or Xbox games on Project xCloud, console streaming, the old Xbox, the new Xbox. Just play it where you want, and that's I think that's very much their philosophy. But it's just interesting. I just wonder whether that is going to have an impact, because, as I said, the traditional model is that you have a big exclusive title that you can only play on that platform, that shows off its credentials and is a reason to invest in that new console. Whereas I'm going to say there's not necessarily a reason to invest in it straight away.
No, and it also means that with the potential delay, and we've yet to see it actually stated, the potential delay the next gen console, it means that publishers can actually bring their games out ahead of that launch and still have the next gen version on sale, rather than have to wait for the console to launch to then release their next gen only version.
Exactly, yeah. So these are the games. It's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Call of the Sea, Chorus, coming to Stadia, of course. So Assassin's Creed, of course. Cyberpunk, coming to Stadia, of course. Dirt 5, coming to Stadia, of course. Scarlet Nexus, Second Extinction, The Ascent, Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines. So these were games that were shown at the showcase they did. Yakuza, Like a Dragon. So these all have what they call the smart delivery. So if you upgrade, as I say, to an Xbox Series X, you get the free game.
It's a compelling idea.
It's a very, very interesting idea anyway. So
I mean, I know that the PlayStation is backwards compatible, but as you say, this takes it another level, because you're not saying, oh, Valhalla's just been released, but the PS5's not out for another month, but I want to play it now. You can buy it now, play it. I wonder though whether your saves will carry across to the newer version.
There must. You must surely. It would be pretty redundant if you didn't have that cross save functionality within the same on the same platform, albeit a different version.
Yeah, I'd like to think so, but don't forget that they can only exist in the cloud, which I know is part of the Game Pass and the PlayStation Plus account. Because you otherwise you're going to have to migrate it from your old box to the new box. So it could be a little bit more difficult than simply picking up where you left off.
Zero Games here. So let's see what before we go into the next news story, let's just have a little look what the chat is saying here. Zero Games says the 30 frames per second makes me not want to invest in any of the next gen consoles. I don't trust them in delivering 60 frames per second. I think there is a case to say that trying to be a jack of all trades, as it were, in terms of fitting, working on the Xbox One and then also having a version that works at Xbox One Series X may mean that may mean that there are compromises which overall could be detrimental if they're not consistently delivering things at 60 frames per second. At least Stadia sort of tries, and certainly going forward, I can see that it will be rarer that you get a 30 frame per second game on Stadia going forward. Those initial ports, the Destiny thing, although that was Destiny's at 60 frames per second, but the other ones, I think Red Dead Redemption, Metro, I think going forward as people start developing for Stadia specifically, for instance, they'll be consistently 60 frames per second. But it's interesting on Xbox.
To Xbox.
He is. That's what he's saying. That there was a report that some of the games.
What they actually said, did they not? Was that it's going to be like Stadia down to the developer.
Yeah.
They can't force a developer to deliver a game at 60 frames per second, even if the kit can deliver it. The same as with Stadia. It's entirely their creative decision.
But it's about managing that message, though, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Okay, so next in the news, let me just, shall I play the video?
Yeah, so this is
Okay, play the video, and
this is me.
Traditional video chat is
oh, we'll get rid of the adverts in a minute.
Let me
Keep
know.
talking.
the whole
Can't see it.
family and
Okay, there we are, skipping it.
Right. So what I discovered today, which was fascinating, was just how big a community exists developing brand new content for old consoles and giving it away. So this, for example, beyond the adverts, is a brand new game for the ZX Spectrum, which developed by a Spanish team called the Lost Treasures of Tulip, or Tulum, for the ZX Spectrum 128, which they give the source code. The source code is completely free. You can download it, and if you've got an emulator, a Spectrum emulator, then
That
you
sounds.
can install it, and it actually looks and sounds great. It's a really good-looking game. I looked at this and I thought, that's actually looks great fun.
So these are not emulations of existing games. These are brand new games, but programmed in the same way you would have programmed them for the ZX Spectrum.
Yep.
And therefore, if you had a ZX Spectrum emulator now, this is a brand new 2020 game for the ZX Spectrum.
Yeah.
I hate to disappoint people. It is not in 4K or 30 frames per second.
Depends if the developers allowed it.
Yeah, obviously.
In this case, it has sounded not a good idea. We'd stick with 8-bit, but it's a great-looking game. It looks fun, and it does remind me so much of those kind of Steam Heist type games that we're seeing a lot of at the moment as well. And interestingly, it didn't stop at Spectrum. I found Commodore 64 games.
Wow.
Essentially anything that there's an emulator for, and that's most of the original platforms. You can there are communities actively and passionately developing brand new content for it, which I think is something to be applauded. This team, RetroWorks, as I say, Spanish developers. Interesting story, actually. If you visit their site, it appears that they all worked together at a contemporary contemporary games developer that, for whatever reason, they no longer work at. But they decided as a cooperative to carry on working together and develop this stuff. So that's to be applauded. And emulators are free as well. So I may just go out and
yeah, certainly check it out.
Great fun. Looks good.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, let me just pause this and put our beautiful faces on the screen a second while I get the website for this. Where is it? Here. So this is the developer website.
Mm-hmm. RetroWorks España.
Here, I've got it up already. Actually, there we go.
Yeah.
So on here, I love actually the fact that the website looks dated as well.
As their games.
Yeah, obviously, if it's 20 years, the website's sort of I don't know, 10, 15 years after ZX Spectrum's around, but it's still got that like the early days of the website.
It's really cool, and even their little if you go, I think it's About Us or Team, and they've got little tiny 8-bit icons for each of the members of the team, and there's interestingly quite a few of them that took part in building this as well. It certainly wasn't a 1 or 2 man operation, and they have a whole bunch of these things. And they
Spectrum, MSX, Amstrad, Windows, Amstrad. Oh my god! Yeah.
I mean that's largely because I think they all shared the same engine. They were all built on the same basic code.
Well, I think Amstrad bought Sinclair.
They did eventually.
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
So I think it's fairly easy to create once and publish across all of those platforms. But
we'll put a link in the site. We'll put a link in the description for people who might be interested in checking that out. But yeah, you can get emulators very easily from people. So that's cool. That is funny. I'm loving that. Okay. So the other thing, so this is less news, but I came across this video which I thought was quite interesting. And hopefully I should have it lined up, and this is really about the history of best-selling consoles from. Go to the page. Here we go. Wait, get rid of the blooming adverts.
You need to get a premium account, Clive.
I know. Here we go. I do have one, I'm sure.
Cancel it. They took another 15 quid.
So this is from a site that goes, "We love graphics" or something like that, or data. We love data. But it's just interesting to see here the respective sales of consoles and how they, once you plot it over sort of 10 years or so, 8 years or so, it's quite dramatic. I have another one I saw which was from a longer period of time, but you can see the dominance there. Like Wii, when it came out, just jumped straight up there. PlayStation's 3 quickly outsold the Xbox 360, then Xbox 360 outsold it. It's just I just found it absolutely sort of fascinating. But let me know if you had any of these machines. This is just from from good music, man. This is just from 2004 to 2019. So I'm going to cut a bit further forward, but you can see, look at the Xbox 360 there. Well, let's go to more modern times.
Suddenly the Switch.
Yeah, you can see the PlayStation, dominating. But again, I'll leave a link to this. I'll leave a link to this site because that YouTube. It's just quite fascinating to see it and in a visual way. The relative, because it's got things like the Wii U compared to, say, the Xbox One or Nintendo Switch. It's just a very interesting comparison, I think, in terms of the relative success of the various consoles. Funky music, man. Right.
We'll get pulled for that now.
I think it's if they're using it, it's copyright free, probably. Let's hope so. That's why I don't do Just Dance.
Yes.
Ubisoft have been pulling all the videos.
And then the radios in Grid or Crew or whatever.
Right, let's have a quick look at the chat there. So Ben Moxham, hello, how are you? Lavelle, loving the London accent. Very good, thank you.
Certainly not mine.
Mine. Rolling old farmer boy here, Devon. Old farmer boy. Directly, that's Cornish, but never mind. Yeah, directly. Yeah.
Ruby Gwyn, my boy.
That'd be right. Now, enough of that nonsense. Right.
Ghosts and Goblins. Let's make a note of Ghosts and Goblins.
Oh, okay. So we have another interesting article here. Let me just cue it up. And this is, let's transition to there. Okay, so this is a retro gaming group. Go and take it away, Adam.
Yeah, another one, interestingly. This is a Japanese retro gaming group. And to tackle quarantine, because it's global, they decided to donate 100 Super Famicoms, remember those? To families with kids under 16 for basically the cost of shipping. They used units, but they also gave them, as well as the shipping, console, cables, controller, Super Donkey Kong, and Final Fantasy VI.
Super Donkey Kong and Final Fantasy VI.
10 quid shipping was a deal. They're all reconditioned units, but they've been sterilized, bless them. And they basically have said,
where did they get 100 Famicoms?
I have no idea. It doesn't mention in the thing where they got these from. But they're a retro gaming group. If anybody can get hold of 100 Super Famicoms, and say that sober, then they can do that. But that's such a neat idea. They did this last month, so I'm not sure what the response was like. Essentially, they just asked people to email them, and they vetted the emails and sent them out to a good home.
You simply, in order to be eligible, you simply needed to live in a household with a child under the age of 16, agree to pay for shipping, and winners were notified by April 27th.
Yeah.
So Donkey Kong and Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, it's a deal.
Wow.
I know. I've seen similar things happen in the UK, but they've been more around providing free games. I saw there was something aimed at key workers offering free games on PC, Steam, I think it was largely. So there's lots of incentives around at the moment, but I like that one because, I mean, where else are you going to grab a Super Famicom? It's it's the retro angle, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, let me know. I mean, Donkey Kong Country, whatever. I think that was the one that might have been developed by Rareworks. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was a brilliant game.
It's not the one with the record in dispute, is it? From last week.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let us know whether who's played. Anybody remember Super Donkey Kong Country? In the chat, let us know. Anyway, right, okay. So we go next to this section that we like to call "On This Day in Gaming History." That's what it says here, so that's what I'm going to call it. Yeah, I'm not going to call
We'd like to call it that because that's what it says.
Yeah, we'd like to call it because exactly that is what it's called. On this day in gaming history.
Donkey Kong history.
Yeah, in Donkey Kong history. No, in gaming
That's
history. So I'm trying to work lots of different things and think at the same time.
All the strings, marionettes happening.
I'm multitasking. Yeah. So
you picked up on this one, Clive.
I
25
did.
Years ago.
25 years ago this week. In fact, 25 years ago yesterday, the Sega Saturn launched. And I'm just going to show you this. Actually, this is a launch video. This wasn't the ad. I'm not going to show you all because the actual launch video is 8 minutes long, but it's a little bit out there. That's all I'm going to say. So let me just transition to that, and then I will play it. There we go. Playing, don't worry. This was taken from an old VHS, apparently. That's why it's a bit.
Oh, you can't beat them. My wedding video on VHS is basically more snow now than wedding.
Companion.
This is just.
Lead you. Watch and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this
Please.
For the Sega Saturn.
Disappoint him.
This is just.
He isn't like that.
I had to watch at least 3 minutes of this to think.
We are 5 years away from entering the 21st century.
5 years away from entering the 21st century.
The interactive age.
Her head is Saturn then.
Yes.
But are you ready for the future?
It's a nice hat, Clive. Quite good on you, I think.
Sega Saturn. Aww, hit it. Sega's next generation gaming platform, revolutionary sports and arcade
Dodgy-looking
gameplay,
character.
all with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems. Wow.
Retro paint.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point is, it gets weirder. Oddly enough, that whole thing just gets more weird, and that was the big launch video they did. 8 minutes long, introducing this amazing, Sega Saturn amazing machine. But what happened? What happened next is quite interesting. And there was an article here in Forbes. I shall get here. And I will bring it up here about the history of the Sega Saturn and how it was America's biggest mistake. I don't think it's America's biggest mistake, but
I think they've made bigger.
But yes, I think in fairness, exactly. But let me just transition it, and you'll hear, and we can discuss it here. You'll see talking about. So it's basically 25 years since the Sega of America made its biggest ever mistake. So the thing is that they announced it. This is in order to get so there was obviously a little competition between them and Sony at the time. Sony was bringing out their machine that year, and Sega Saturn, they wanted to sort of, get their machine out as quick as possible. And so on May the 11th, 1995, Sega Saturn's North American launch. It's considered to be one of the most damaging console launch in the history of gaming. A well-meaning surprise from Sega of America was completely undone by poor planning, terrible execution, and plucky cutthroat competition. So on this day, 25 years ago, Sega of America president Tom Klanisk took to the stage at the first ever E3 inside the LA Convention Center and left the attendees slack-jawed following his huge announcement. The Sega Saturn was, from that moment, on sale across the US. So from that moment, he went on stage and said, it's available now for sale. So that's like nowadays, and you go and you can buy it now, kind of thing, and everybody's whoop whoop whoop. When they have an Apple phone launch or a new Google Pixel phone launch, and it's like it's available from the stores now. It's like a big thing, and so they did this with the Sega Saturn, and they said from that moment it was basically available from that moment on sale across the US, and the whole idea was it was a power play to gain the upper hand in the intense rivalry that started in late 1994 when Japan witnessed the Saturn going toe-to-toe with the all-new Sony PlayStation. And there is an interesting picture here. And it says here, yes, that is indeed Michael Jackson playing a Sony PlayStation at the first ever E3. And I wonder whether the chat can also recognize whether there's anybody else in that video that they might recognize.
And it's not Clive.
And it's not me. I'll leave it a few minutes in the chat there. See if you can recognize who's standing next to Michael Jackson in the photograph.
And it's not Bubbles.
Yeah. Anyway, so the basic upshot of this is that in order to sort of steal a march on Sony, they wanted to get to the market first. But initially it sold, reasonably well. But the problem is that in order to get it to the market first, they brought it out too early, and the games weren't ready, and there weren't enough sort of big killer games. And also, the main thing with this is that basically Sega took a gamble, pushed gamers to buy its console early. They thought if you get people to spend their money. Correct Zero Games for me.
Yes, chicken dinner for Zero.
It's Phil Harrison, exactly, with hair. A very young Phil Harrison there, yes. With hair. From his, so this is, people go, he's always, Phil Harrison. He's presided over disasters. Well, this is him not at the Sega Saturn launch. This is him at the Sony launch. I hasten to add in this photograph, and what I'm talking about right now is the success of Sony's launch. And one of the key things was that Sega were trying to say, well, if people are going to spend big money on a gaming console, let's get out first. They'll spend money on ours, then they won't have any money to spend on the Sony. We'll make the decision for them. And so it was available. They announced Sega Saturn was now available in stores across the US for $399. Yes, it was pricey, but this is a whole new frontier in gaming. A few days later, Sony made an announcement about when they would be launching.
Sony Computer Entertainment President of America, Steve Reyes, joined me for a brief presentation.
This is his brief presentation. Bear in mind, the Sega Saturn was $399. This is how they presented Sony PlayStation.
$299.
So, that's just absolutely amazing. I hope you heard that. You didn't have to see it. So you basically invited the head of Sony North America on stage, and he just goes $299, and he walks off stage. That was Sony's big announcement. Just a brilliant, and they went on and sold millions because so a few days before Sega had said, $3.99 is an amazing machine. Sony just thought, no, we've got, hold our beer, $2.99. Everybody went out and bought the Sony. And the other thing about the Sony is that they also had loads and loads of franchises all lined up and games ready, and the rest is history. It was a complete disaster for Sega Saturn. Even though it was a great machine and was pushing things, Sony had the price and they had the games, and that still rings true today. It's going to be true. Both Xbox and Sony are very cagey about the pricing, and pricing was an issue last time round, I think, with the Xbox and Sony, and there's always a battle to sort of pitch it at the right level. And I know Sony historically have sold at a loss, the consoles at a loss, in order to make sure they hit the right sales price, because ultimately it's about selling the games on the platform, which will make you money. So if you lose a little bit of money on every console you sell, back in the day, they were more concerned about having a platform on which people would buy games in which they would then earn a royalty. So get the platform into people's hands, you need to price it right. That was the key thing. I think people are a bit more strategic on the pricing now and make sure they don't sell it at a loss. But historically in the console wars, that has happened. But yeah, so there we are, a little bit of gaming history and a lesson to be learned for all console developers, or cloud gaming now as it would be. How do you price it? Do you go early? Do you go late? Do you see what the market is doing, or do you follow up later and then play catch up? It's all a bit cat and mouse. So let anybody have the Sega Saturn, by the way, in the chat. Let me know.
No.
No.
I had a Mars bar once.
Yeah, no, you had a Mars bar. Brilliant. So Mariko says there were 54,000 applicants for those Famicoms. That's interesting. Thank you for that, Gamer Man. Yeah, remember to hit like and sub if you're new to the channel. Ray shared brilliant content. Did you enjoy that, Ray? I hope you did. I just think it's interesting in how we have the same arguments and discussions about every time there's a new console release, and we're having the same discussions now. And then that chart that I showed earlier of the different sales rates over time, as when you're old enough in sort of gaming, you see platforms come and go. Sega was going nowhere. Sega was a massive, massive platform, and now it's not a platform. So, people sort of deride Stadia and stuff, but it could be the new Sony in the new frontier of gaming. And I mean, that sounds crazy, but Sony don't have a God-given right to sort of exist. No company has a God-given right to exist in the gaming world. I think Sony are pretty, know their bread and butter. They know what they're doing, but cloud gaming is a new venture, and we know Microsoft are making strides into that area. Stadia have already done it. Amazon are coming on board. New players are coming on board. It's going to shake up the market, just as Sony PlayStation shook up the market then and ended up dominating. Nintendo had their moments when, Wii was really successful. Wii U was less successful. The Switch is ridiculously successful, even though on paper it's not as powerful. So it's driven by the content. There's lots of reasons which drive people to sort of wed themselves to one particular type of console or game.
How long did the Saturn hang around for then, Clive, after that?
I think it just killed off. I think it killed Sega as a hardware manufacturer. Yeah, they didn't do another console after that. It just, not like say Xbox. We've had different generations of Xbox now for a number of times. They're into the swing of things along with PlayStation, but that was the last of the Segas. Dreamcast, Master System, and Mega Drive. That's what David Handley says. He's talking about the different systems. Gamerman says, I have all the Sega systems. David Handley says, have you read The Console Wars by Blake Harris? Oddly enough, I think I may well have come across that book about 20 years ago or something like that. Or maybe, is it that old? Or something similar anyway. But I'll check it out, actually. That's a good shout out there, David. I'll certainly check that book out. You're forgetting the Dreamcast. Was that the... Okay, let me just have a look. Let's have a look. Oh, yes, sorry. 1998. You're quite right. Dreamcast was Sega's next venture. It's just because it didn't have that sort of Sega, you know, just Dreamcast was the dominant name in it. Dreamcast was a good machine. But again, I think it didn't quite get the mix right in terms of games and stuff like that. But it was more advanced, I seem to remember, than the other systems. Launched in 1988 in Japan and 1999 in North America.
See, Nintendo won because they didn't try and go toe-to-toe with Sony. They came up with completely different innovative solutions for very niche markets. Whereas Sega was, each time it was trying to compete head on with those guys, and they just didn't have the depth of pocket.
Yeah. So one of the reasons also that the Dreamcast failed is because the release of the 32X and the lack of support for the Saturn in the United States. So, you know, they were building on a shaky platform, which was the previous console. You know, where people had bought into the sort of the Sony ecosystem because they were delivering. So I think that's one of the reasons that Dreamcast is, you know, arguably in console terms, sort of failure. Let's see what the wiki says on it. In contrast to expensive, unsuccessful Sega Saturn, the Dreamcast was designed to reduce costs with off-the-shelf components, including an Hitachi SH4 CPU and an NEC Power VR2 GPU. It was released in Japan first with subdued reception.
Kiss of death.
It had a massive marketing campaign in the US that had initial success, but interest in the system steadily declined as Sony built hype for the upcoming PlayStation 2. So again, arguably it was in the wrong part of the cycle. But it was a good machine. But people obviously knew that, you know, this PlayStation 2 was coming along and thought, we'll sit it out. Raisha had said, my Dreamcast is from Japan. Wow, the original 1998 version, not the 1999 North American version. Wow. Very interesting. All right, well, that's enough there. I just thought I'd introduce that. Oh, yeah, do you want to just mention about the game also that was released?
So Clive just done 38 minutes on Sega Saturn. All I've got to tell you is on this day a few years ago, they released Ninja Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever it was called.
On this
That's
day,
it.
on this
Move
actual
on.
day, on this day though, yeah.
Well, it was on this day, yeah.
Yeah, you see,
I hated them Ninja Mutant Turtle things.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, you see, this is the thing. This is interesting. Semantically, of course, in America, they call a tortoise a land turtle. So the Mutant Ninja Turtles are actually tortoises.
Different version.
Different thing altogether.
Different version you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I'd bring it back down to earth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was actually the Ninja Mutant tortoises, not the Ninja Mutant Turtles.
Those fast-moving animals.
Yes, they take the shell off their back and.
Yeah, it was not quite. It doesn't quite work the same as Teenage Mutant Ninja Tortoises.
No, but that's technically what we're talking about. Yeah. And they had a mate that was a rat, if I remember rightly, as well. I mean, that's pretty low, isn't it?
He was like the sensei.
Yeah, yeah. All very odd. Anyway, that game came out this year. It came out some point in the past.
Today in 1989. There you go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Tortoises / Turtles. Yeah.
That's it. Tortoises. There ain't no such thing as a land turtle. It's a tortoise.
Was the first rendition of them? Do we think
Yes, as a
in a gaming platform?
Yeah, on a gaming platform.
Okay, interesting. Thank you for that. That little blast from the past, a bit of history there.
I am just doing the Eric to our Eric and Ernie.
Yeah, okay. It's appreciated. Right. Okay, so now we're going to Generation X game. So a game I'm doing all the impressions today. You're getting all of them. I haven't got any more after that. The Rainbow Crew and Bruce Forsyth, and that's about it. All the 70s. Anyway,
that was Frank
Spencer. Yeah, I just threw that in for good measure. No, anyway.
Before we get the Coliseum this Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. The Coliseum. The Generation X game, Blast from the Past. So this week, my game is, ladies and gentlemen, my game is this. Let me cue it up. There we go. Get this.
What a game.
Missile Command. I love Missile Command because you had to sort of, obviously it's imagine doing it with a mouse. It's so easy. But you had to move the cursor to effectively where you wanted the missiles to launch. So sort of anticipate the path. There's the sound. I was waiting for that. It was a bit slow coming with the sound there. And then obviously the missile, and this is all, sort of the idea of sort of war games and the Cold War, and intercontinental ballistic missiles coming down.
It was Ronald Reagan's what did they call it? Star Wars. That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Star Wars project. And I think you had to basically sort of defend 6 cities. But I just like the idea that you basically had to sort of just mark the cursor.
Yeah.
But like you'd think, well, that's easy with a mouse. You'd just be like swinging it around, swinging your mouse all over the shop, just tapping on the right thing, bumper on the mouse, whatever. Easy. But no, you had to do it because this was on the Atari. There was different versions of it, but this particular version was on the Atari 2600, and so therefore you were using your joystick and then the button, probably on that side if you're right-handed. Yeah, the joystick and then the button to move the cursor and basically fire. And like with all games at this time, it just got more and more intense and faster, and more missiles came down as you tried to have to sort of clear each level accordingly. But there we are. Yeah, Missile Command. I don't remember in what form I played it, whether it was on the Atari. I think it must have been, but I don't remember. Like I said before, I don't remember having an Atari, so it must have been around a friend's house or my cousin's house.
It would have come out on the Spectrum, though, I'm sure.
I think there were different versions of it and iterations of it, and I think there was even an arcade version.
I couldn't get through very many levels at all.
Yeah. As I say, I think there were about 6 different cities that you have to defend. But let's know who else remembers. So David Handley said he had Missile Command on the Atari 2600. Yeah, that's where these things sort of come from.
Oh, it's an amazing game. Amazing game.
Dazzadini saying he had the C64, Amiga computers, the CD32 Master System, the Mega Drive. Wow.
Yeah, but he's just showing off.
Yeah, I remember that. That's it. Dazzadini, brilliant. Yes, I knew it was an arcade. I remember it in the arcades, but what you've just reminded me there was the tracking ball.
Yes,
like a giant, about the size of a cricket ball.
Yeah,
but and it was sometimes it didn't register properly when you played because it had been overused so much. So you were like, oh, I've got to move. You're trying to almost spinning the ball to try and get the cursor. It wasn't like that accurate. Because obviously grit would get in there and stuff. I don't know, but
chip fat from Dazzadini's chippy.
Yeah, chip fat, exactly. Chip fat from the chippy as you popped into the arcade. So it never quite. I always found it quite hard using that sort of trackball, as it were.
Hey, Chase. Yeah, no, it was a dang difficult game and particularly hard on the old. But again, that was its unique thing. That
Oh, you missed
trackball.
all the fun, Chase. Just missed Missile Command. I'm going to little play a bit for you. Here we are. Just for the chisels. We'll get that sound going. Here we go. Yeah, the trackball was a nightmare. It never functioned as well as it should have. But yeah, ideal. We should almost have trackballs instead of mice, really.
For head?
Yeah, exactly. I just like that. Those sort of 8-bit sounds, you know.
It was bleeding difficult.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my that's my blast from the past.
Yeah. Take note of those graphics, people.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. You keep doing what? So yours.
Mine is not. It was not one that you had at home. You could have had it at home.
Yes, I've got it lined
but
up. Yes,
not with the graphics that you
No.
got at the arcade, because they were just outstanding.
Don't spoil it.
Vector-based graphics. Go on, spoil it. That's fine.
No.
Vector-based graphics.
Sound I wanted.
So they were
Here is,
points
ladies.
drawn on the screen. They weren't bitmaps at all, and it was you'd see and where the two
This
points
felt
are.
so advanced.
Asteroids by Atari, the arcade, 1979, and where the lines intersected, pixels would brighten. So you had that unique sort of brighter spot between where the two lines would draw on the edges of the asteroid, which it just absolutely. I always wanted one of these at home.
It felt so advanced.
Oh,
and
the physics felt just so right as well. You know, you could literally blast a large asteroid into tiny asteroids, and they'd all fire off in the way that you'd anticipate them to do that with the physics, sort of like an early game of billiards. And then there you go, you'd sort of fire yourself off in a direction, and inertia would keep you going, and you were like, no, I've gone too fast.
The maneuverability, though, is really responsive. You know, that's
amazing.
The thing. But,
you'd end up going so fast, though, you'd come right round the screen and up the other side. And then a UFO would come in, and you'd smack. Here he goes. That's what I would always be doing. And you couldn't slow yourself down. It was really hard. And then a UFO would come in. But it was the vector-based graphics. I don't. There was a tank game that I remember had vectors.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Like the tanks were vectors.
Yeah, and you were actually in the cockpit of the tank, weren't you? It was quite 3D.
I think I vaguely remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. But this was one of the very few vector-based with the points drawn. Thanks, David. Yeah, I would. You know what? I would buy one of these tomorrow. I'd still love.
It must be you can get an emulator for Asteroids.
Yeah, no, but not with those proper vector graphics on the. It was essentially a screen that had only one color of pixel. It didn't.
Yeah.
There was no blurring of colors. There was no RGB going on here. It was white and
but
black.
It worked.
And it would work really nicely on an OLED screen, actually, with the blacks being so black. And the whites just coming through, but that still to this day is just one of those kind of has it all games.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what, right, ladies and gentlemen, please in the chat put do your votes. Put M for Missile Command or A for Asteroids. Now 3, 2, 1, vote away.
Right, I'm getting in quick.
M for Missile Command, A for Asteroids, and we'll see who's won this week. Yeah, we should make it a competition. Yeah.
Just getting a few in there, Clive, just to help the lads.
Yeah, I've got mine in there. Come on, chat, put yours down there. Who's won this generation game?
And just bear in mind,
no, 1A only counts as 1A, Rokk. You can't just put A. It's one vote.
I was hoping you wouldn't see that.
Yeah. Right, I don't want to influence people by having on the screen at the same time.
Oh, no.
You know, let's get
but
rid
what
of
you've
that.
got to bear in mind is that this was at the under-18s Tiffany's disco that I went to.
Oh yeah, Tiffany's.
You remember Tiffany's?
Yeah, there's always a Tiffany's.
It was always Tiffany's.
Oh.
It was actually where I met my wife not that many years later. Funnily enough,
You can't have M&A, David. You've got to
Monday.
choose.
Sorry, no, you can't have M&A. That's a whole different thing.
A's all the way here.
Yeah, well, Asteroids are the one, mate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the one.
I must admit, yeah, I have to give
It's
it to Asteroids.
It's the way I sell it.
Yeah. No, I remember it's certainly brought back memories and just being blown away by like going into an arcade as a kid or whatever and just seeing this and thinking it's the most futuristic thing, and the way that because all the other things up to that time had been sort of very so that ZX Spectrum game the new one that we showed, but it's still like really sort of 8-bit pixel generated characters that didn't quite look like the characters, and very, very sort of up, down, linear across. Whereas this felt like not 8-bit, free flowing, and yes, okay, it was black and white in vectors, but they felt more
I think
more
it was
real,
the
as it were,
physics.
and
The physics was so real.
The physics, exactly.
It moved and everything pushed off in the direction you expected it to, and it genuinely felt like you were interacting with a physical world, and yet the most simplest of graphics.
Exactly, but it was that floating motion of the asteroids which felt ahead of its time compared to all the other sort of 8-bit games that we'd sort of that's my impression of an 8-bit machine.
That was very good.
Thank you.
It was very good.
Yeah, I do all the impressions. I
tell you, you're
TV personalities and
beyond entertaining.
Can I?
Do you do kids parties? By the way?
Not since the arrest, you know. Joke. Can I? Yeah, I think Asteroids wins it. Dave Widnall says, "I like the fact you competed with two similar games." Yeah, yeah. We don't always know what's.
No,
you know,
we independently choose.
We just bring our own. Zero games for me, so I was too shy as a boy to ever play in the arcade. Yeah, because it was full of the bullies who had their 10p's, or if you're in America, their quarters lined up on the. I'm next. And then had their initials A Daz.
No, mate, look, I only put a couple in.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to help influence people.
Yeah. No, you know the initials. You put your score.
And Daz had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. A and Daz was always the ones with the top scores.
Daz had a
three letter combinations. CLI was mine.
I had ADS mainly, but that was a medical condition.
Yeah, well, exactly. Put it in the machine. Yeah. They could be intimidating places as
very
arcades.
much.
I mean, you know.
Not half as intimidating as under 18s discos, though. In the time of John Travolta.
Under 18 discos.
Under 18s.
Okay, yeah.
No, they were very intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So I think the winner there then definitely is Asteroids. Yeah. And all right. Take the plaudits. Can I just introduce my shirt of the day?
One up. Look at that. Clive, where did you get that shirt from?
It's funny you should say that. StarCrashDesigns.com. That's where I got it from.
Every week, it's just, this place astounds me with the quality of its merchandise.
Just, you know, check it out. That's all I'm saying, you know.
What about the link for my Patreon while we're pushing your shirts, mate?
I'll put your link. Okay, do you want me to put your...
I've got a new Patreon.
Yeah, he has got. If you want to support Adam, he needs all the support he can get.
Yeah, with my legs.
Where's your? Here it is. Copy, link, address. Excuse me. Oh, I'm on a different computer.
Oh,
can you put it in the chat? Sorry, my chat is on a different computer. I just remembered.
I don't know what it is. I've already launched it today. Hang on.
All right.
It's patreon.com/ go and have a guess. Rokk.
Yeah, that's it. I'll type it out. Do you want me to type it? I can just.
Don't worry, mate. I'm there. There it goes.
Sure.
Very kind of you to humour an old fella.
Yeah. There we go.
Bless him.
So what are you going to get on that Patreon? You know, I'm shilling
cheap
for
as
you.
Chips.
But
I actually wanted to do it for free. I thought I'd be the first one ever to do a free
first ever
Patreon,
patron with a shill.
But they wouldn't let me. So, but it's only a couple of quid. And what do you get?
Yeah,
Blimey, I don't know. I'm going to just put it together today. You get all sorts. It's really good. Hang on. I've got to log out to see me things.
Yeah, that often happens.
Yeah. So yeah, well, a couple of quidlet, and you get a shout out on my shows. You get your name added to my Rokk Wall of Fame. I like that. You get, oh, hang on, URL's wrong on that one. Need to work on that. You get added to the credit roll at the end of a Rokk Around the Clock.
Wow.
And most importantly, my genuine, heartfelt gratitude.
Well,
which
that
is
is
priceless.
priceless. Priceless, ladies and gentlemen.
Priceless.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Priceless. You know what I was thinking, and I don't think it is. I'm thinking we're going to be doing. I haven't told you this yet. It might be a surprise to you.
Well, it will be if you haven't told me.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't. But I was just
Could be
thinking.
a total surprise.
If we get to 100 subscribers, we're gonna do a giveaway.
Ooh.
And we should be giving away a retro gaming T-shirt. I haven't decided which one or what type.
Would it be coming from StarCrashDesigns.com?
They'll make it. It will be up there for sale, but we'll be giving one away. Yeah, so you'll be able to buy it, but what we'll do is we'll do a draw in a random name generator type thing. But we need to get to 100 subscribers, so it's up to you guys to get out there and like, share, subscribe, make sure other people are coming to see us. I hope you've had it. I hope you've been entertained. I hope you've had fun.
Have you been entertained?
Yeah. Are we entertaining you, sir? Are you entertained?
Are you entertained? In a slightly Australian Roman accent.
Gladiator. Yeah. Yeah, mate. Are you entertained, mate?
You entertained? What? This T-shirt that they're going to win, Clive. Is it going to have perchance a new Generation X Retro Gaming Club logo on it?
That's what I'm thinking.
One that they have yet to see, because it's still in the works.
Still in the works, yes. That's what I'm thinking. It'll also be available to buy, but we'll be doing a giveaway. So when it's ready, we'll show you. But we need to get to 100 subscribers. Got to work for it, guys. So you need to get out there, shill for us a bit, get to 100 subscribers, and we'll give it away. We'll give a T-shirt away.
Because
I have another T-shirt and another retro T-shirt on order as well. So and if people will sit, and I'll do COVID is a bit slow delivery, but hopefully people will like that as well, and we'll see.
Dazzadini's touting his own wares in the chat, Clive. I think we should kick him.
Yeah, definitely with the Dazzadini logo on it. Yeah, because he's put Daz in all the arcade machines up and down the country. He said DAZ. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a Dazzadini logo? Yeah. We could do a T-shirt with a Dazzadini logo. Exactly.
Yep.
Anyway, make sure you like, subscribe, and you share this. Tell all your friends about it, because if you've been entertained, then maybe they'll be entertained. That's the way it works, Give a little love, show a little love, take a little love, whatever. I want to burst into song there. Anyway, I hope you've all had a good show. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it, Adam? That's the case.
I've immensely enjoyed it, particularly the ninjas.
The ninja tortoises.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a particular favorite aspect of mine.
Yeah. Who was that? Deputy Dog.
Deputy Dog.
No, not him.
No.
Droopy.
Oh, Droopy.
So he was a very successful law enforcement officer.
He was.
But a bit slow. So maybe if a teenage ninja mutant tortoises could equally be if Droopy was. Anyway.
Well, I'm guessing they wouldn't be teenagers anymore. Would they be? No. They'd be like middle-aged ninja mutant tortoises now, wouldn't they?
Generation X.
Generation X tortoises.
Tortoises, yeah. But tortoises live a long life, so they're still teenagers in their years.
That's true. Relatively
in human
speaking.
years,
Yeah.
That tortoise that was witnessed the Crimea War only died a little while ago.
What, the one that was in the Galapagos Islands?
Yeah.
How did he see the Crimean War from the Galapagos
Because
Islands?
he was taken on board the boat.
Was he?
Yeah, and then
to the Crimean War and back again.
There was a tortoise that was about 150 years old. Yeah, and I'm sure I'm not making that up, or somebody told me in a pub, so it must be
Touche
true.
turtle.
Yeah, it was Touche Turtle, exactly. Touche Turtle, exactly.
Touche turtle away.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all coming out now.
It's a precursor to the ninjas.
Touche. 150-year-old ninja tortoise.
Yeah, Dave Hanley says these shows are too short. What's wrong with the 4-hour format? Exactly. Exactly. Well, that'll be on the after hours. Everybody seems to do an after hours, you know. But...
Yeah, we should. We should set up a gaming club Patreon and have an after hours.
Yeah.
Where we partake of Horlicks and sing old songs from the war.
Old from which war?
Well, I was thinking the Falklands.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, wasn't it taken to India or something? You see, I'm not mad.
No, I know, but I asked you if it was the Galapagos one. I can't believe it's the same. I don't know if it was the same
one, but there was a turtle, and I don't know whether he died in London Zoo or something. He was 150 years old, but he was taken up or went to the Crimean War or something like that. Just crazy.
He had some stories to tell, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm gonna put in.
He had Michelle on my back.
Tortoise and Crimean War. There it comes up. Tortoise Crimean War.
Crimea War.
It served as a mascot. Timothy.
Wow.
His name was Timothy. Ladies and gentlemen, we're informing, entertaining, educating. Timothy the Tortoise.
Hang on, in
1844 to 2004.
Was Timothy a name in 1854?
Yes, it was. Sir Timothy of such and such.
Shelby.
1 second.
If it was called Shelby the Tortoise, I'd have been right there with you then. I would have needed no Wikipedia proof.
Let me just... here we are.
Generation Triple X. Stadium Mania. That's
so
the after
Timothy,
show,
everybody, Timothy the Tortoise. Can I just let you know?
Yeah.
1844 to 2004. So he wasn't the Galapagos. He was a Mediterranean spur-thighed tortoise.
Oh, Mediterranean.
Who was thought to be approximately 160 years old at the time of her death. This made her the UK's oldest known resident. In spite of her name, Timothy was female. It was not properly known how to sex tortoises in the 19th century.
Well, gender non-specific tortoise.
Yeah. Timothy was named after a tortoise owner owned by Gilbert White. Born in the Mediterranean shores of Turkey, found aboard a Portuguese privateer in 1851, around about 10, by Captain John Guy Courtney Everard of the Royal Navy. She was the ship's mascot of HMS Queen during the first bombardment of Sevastopol in the Crimean War.
Unbelievable.
There we go. So it wasn't the Galapagos one, but it was a 150-year-old tortoise that went to the Crimean War and only died 15 years ago.
Because the Galapagos one that died fairly recently was noted by Charles Darwin.
Yes, I think that one may have. Yeah,
and that was quite old.
Yes.
That one.
Is that the Aldebra giant tortoise?
David Attenborough, and his brother.
Older than the US, 255 years old, says David.
You sure we're not talking giant redwood trees?
No, he's talking about the Generation X Retro Tortoise Gaming Club. Yeah, the name changes every week. We're going to start a new podcast, Tortoises from History.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing tortoises from history, starting obviously, and Timothy is the first one. Timothy the female tortoise.
Wow.
There we go.
Well,
anyway,
my old pet tortoise.
Yeah. Well, how long that live?
Oh, a couple of years.
Yeah. It's got a bit of a way to go there. 150 odd years. Anyway, look, we go on indefinitely, and I'm sure we would, and we probably will after this. Yes. So I just want to say, I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the little diversion to Tortoise World there. We've had a lot of fun. As I said, Adam, you've had a lot of fun. Have you had a lot of fun?
I've always had fun with you, Clive. You know it.
Chat, have you had a lot of fun? I hope you have. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. You know what's coming next. It's your favorite thing. It's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from him.
And it's Generation X Retro Gaming Club. Goodbye.